second thing that they needed to learn, the second challenge was that they needed to listen to God's message. Now that doesn't mean just, okay guys, sit by and listen and see if you like it. Listening involved responding. Listening meant when God speaks, you listen and you respond to it. You know, how would you define communication? The standard definition for it is communication is a message that evokes a response. In other words, if I'm communicating with you, I'm saying something that evokes a response. And that response may be turn me off and go to sleep. But if communication is saying something or communicating or connecting with somebody in a way that evokes a response. When God communicates, it evokes a response. It's not communication if it doesn't evoke a response. If you're listening and there's no response to God, God hasn't communicated with you. Listening to God means that you are going to respond to whatever it is that God says. Now this statement from the angel pretty much seems useless to me. Don't be afraid, I bring you good news and great joy. Of course, the shepherds were going to listen. I mean, wouldn't you? I mean, that got their attention. The angel had gotten their attention, and if the shepherds were anything like us, they were listening with one purpose in mind, and that was, how do I deal with this sudden turn of events? How do I deal with this? What do I do now? Is this a dangerous situation, or is this a challenge, or is everything going to be okay? I'm not sure what I should do here. I don't know if this is good for me or not. Think about that. And we look at it in the context of looking at the shepherds and saying, oh, of course it was good for them. But you put yourself in their sandals and wonder, what would I do? Would I challenge this? If God showed up in my world and revealed himself in my life, would I challenge? Would I question what it is that he's saying? Would I wonder if I could really handle this or not? They would have missed the greatest event of their lives if they had not responded. If they had just listened and not responded to God, they would have missed the greatest event of their lives. Listen, when God shows up because he has a plan that's bigger than anything you could ever imagine. You know why? Because God thinks bigger than you do. God plans bigger than you do. God knows what your world is like. He knows the life that you're going through. And he knows what your plans are. And sometimes I think God must be going, Hurst, you're just not thinking big enough. I look at some of the things that God's doing in my life and I'm thinking, I could have never imagined that God was going to do this. I just can't. I have never thought bigger than God. And you know what? I'm a pretty good dreamer. That's my wife. You know, I got some pretty big plans. But I'll tell you right now, God's plans are so much bigger than mine. Same thing is true for you. You need to hear this same message that the shepherds heard. The message is for you. And listen to this. It says, but the angel said to them, do not be afraid. I bring you good news of great joy that will be for all the people. Guess what? You are part of all the people. This message was for you. When the angel spoke to the shepherds, the angel said, this message is for all people, and you are all people. This message is for you. It's not just a story about something that happened years ago, but here's a message that is directly for you. And you need to quit looking at the problem in your life, the disconcerting things that are happening in your life, the challenging things that begin to cause you to just focus in on those things and then miss the bigger picture. You need to start listening to the message that God said, and he gave the message right here. And the message is, I bring you good news of great joy. Now I want to mention a couple of things here. First of all, the good news is the word that we use for gospel. That's what gospel means, good news. Joy is a word which means illumination. It means revelation. It's not happiness. That's not joy. It's not happiness. It's much, much bigger. There may be some happiness involved in it, but joy is illumination. And the best way to think of joy is that you are in a dark room and you don't know what's going on and you have trouble understanding what's happening and you're afraid. You may be even sorrowful because you know that something bad has happened. Maybe there's a crisis of some sort in your life and you're afraid and you're sorrowful about it. But joy is the illumination that happens when you begin to see things in a different light. That's what joy means. Literally, the word means illumination. And it's this idea that, wow, when God comes into my life, I can begin to see things in a different way. And now, once things are illumined, and I'm in this dark room, and suddenly I have joy, and there's this illumination in my life, I am no longer afraid because I see what really is there. We're always afraider of what we can't see. It's not a good word, but it's good theology. We're afraider of what we can't see. But when we can see it, then we begin to understand it and we can deal with it better. A lot of us need some joy in our life. We need some illumination in our life to be able to see things in a different way. And so this message is for you. I'm bringing you some good news of great joy, of great illumination. I am about to light up your world so you can see things in a different way. I'm going to change your room. The third challenge was, and here's the first message that really was a message of joy that probably was a little disconcerting at the same time. That is, go when and where God sends you. The first message of joy, the first message of illumination, the first good news thing that they were hearing was, today in the town of David. And what God was saying was, guys, I'm getting ready to send you somewhere and I want you to go. I have a plan for you. There is good news. The Messiah has been born. But it's not just the fact that the Messiah has been born, but the fact that you're going to go and see the Messiah. You're going to go and connect with the Messiah. This is going to be something that's going to rock your world, because you personally are going to see it. You're personally going to be a part of it. The angel made it so clear they didn't have to guess. If you have to guess, by the way, what God is saying to you, then God hasn't spoken or He hasn't finished speaking. Let me say that again. If you have to guess at what God's saying, then either God hasn't spoken or He hasn't finished speaking.